An actor from The Flash has been fired over offensive tweets and why this is hypocritical of Warner Brothers. Hey everyone, this is Kevin, your failed journalist, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, you picked an interesting video to join in, but hey, welcome. I'd like to know what your thoughts on it are. All I ask is that you watch the whole video, you share your opinions, and hey, if you happen to like the video, or maybe even if you don't, give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, whatever you feel like, and subscribe if you want to see more points of view. Before we go further, I do want to acknowledge that it's odd to be making a video like this during this troubled time where protesters are still out there, they're still in the streets protesting the horrible death of George Floyd, and in fact, George Floyd's funeral is today. So I do make this video with a little bit of hesitation because even though I know where it's going, I know some people might get triggered, I guess is the word, pretty early, and they might be tempted to say things before seeing what the point of the video is. So all I ask is that before you comment, that you watch the whole thing and you understand where I'm coming from. But this is one of the trending stories today about Hartley Sawyer, an actor from The Flash, which I'm going to acknowledge right up front. The Flash is one of only 2 shows on the CW that I watch with any regularity, the other being Riverdale. What can I say? I'm a sucker for that stuff. I grew up on Dawson's Creek. But anyway. And Hartley Sawyer has been, well, okay, I just said it. He's been fired over offensive tweets. Now, when you read a headline like this, I was thinking like maybe it's something he said recently, like in the last few days, maybe even the last few months. But no. What happened is about 8 years ago, Hartley was a little bit, what is the term I'm looking for? What some people would call an edgelord. He made offensive jokes, he made racist jokes, he made homophobic jokes, he made misogynist jokes, he made statements that appeared to encourage violence, and I'm not defending them. I'm not defending them. Before we go any further, let us make it absolutely clear, I have read some of the tweets. We're not going to be reading them here. If you want to find them, you can find them. I do not agree with any of them. I condemn them, and they are very, very, very hard to read. But here's the thing. We all wrote pretty horrible things on Twitter a decade ago. And much like, and here's the thing, I don't know if Twitter, I'm still struggling with this whole thing. That I don't think Twitter should be a place where you go to, you find something on Twitter and you fire them. I didn't agree with it. And I'd list examples, but I'm not for a very good reason. You'll find out why. So here's the thing. First of all, the actor has apologized because of course they're going to apologize. But the Flash producers announced that he would not feature in the 7th season of the CW's hit show. Now here's where the story is in my opinion. Because Warner Brothers obviously had to say something about this. And they wrote, "In regards to Mr. Sawyer's posts on social media, we do not tolerate derogatory remarks that target any race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, or sexual orientation. Such remarks are anti-ethical to our values and policies, which strive and evolve to promote a safe, inclusive, and productive environment for our workforce." So that's their statement. And it's actually that statement that I want to focus on. Because keep in mind, we're in agreement right now. The tweets are horrible. They should not have been written. They're terrible. And even though it was 8 years ago, when you read them now, it's like, you actually thought this at one point? Like, this is, like, what was going through your head? Now, we could debate whether or not Warner Brothers should be a lot heavier with screening on social media and stuff like that. But really, I want to focus on this statement because I read this statement, and instead of saying, yeah, good for you, Warner Brothers, you go out there and you protect your employees, you create a safe working environment, I look at this statement and I think, hypocrite. Absolute hypocrites. Why? I'm going to bring up 2 examples. You might already know where I'm going with one of these. But the first one is this. Several months ago, a video of Ezra Miller, also The Flash, except in movie form, well, he appeared at the time to be choking a female fan and throwing her on the ground. Reports came out later on that this was in fact true. Ezra Miller actually put his hands on a woman's throat and tackled her to the ground. Now, of course, we don't know what the context that started the fight is, but that's really besides the point now, is it? You do not lay your hands on a woman unless it's self-defense, which from that video, it did not look like it was self-defense. In fact, many people were even wondering if it was real because it looked like she was in a playful mood and everything, so we thought that it was fake at first, and then it turned out it was real. Well, here's the thing. Warner Brothers has not said anything about this. Months have gone by, not a peep. They didn't release a press release. They didn't reprimand the guy, as far as I'm aware. And for all we know, the Flash movie is still being made. Warner Brothers seems to have looked at the situation and said, meh, whatever, people are indoors, the pandemic's going on, people will just probably forget about it. Now, when you go back to this statement, they strive and evolve to promote a safe, inclusive, and productive environment for our workforce. Does this situation scream a person is going to be in a work environment that is safe and productive? This kind of says that if this guy's on the set, you got to be careful around him because he might, put his hands on you and tackle you to the ground. Warner Brothers did not say a thing about it. Now, interestingly, I listed this one first because the real gotcha moment is with the second example. Let's go back to this statement. In regards to Mr. Sawyer's posts on social media, we do not tolerate derogatory remarks at any target, any race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, or sexual orientation. Okay, so in this statement, what this is in regards to is, hey, guess we do not tolerate remarks like this from people. We don't tolerate because they are anti-ethical to our values and policies. So it doesn't matter if these tweets were 8 years ago and maybe the actor doesn't necessarily feel this way anymore. Heck, maybe he was even kidding back then. Doesn't matter. They don't tolerate the derogatory remarks that target race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, or sexual orientation because such remarks are anti-ethical to our values and policies. You're getting annoyed right now that I keep saying that over and over again, like, Kevin, what's the point? Well, here's my point. Warner Brothers had no problem hiring James Gunn. No problems whatsoever. Now, let's look about this. Okay, this was a couple years ago, October 9th, 2018, when this announcement was made. A couple years ago, James Gunn famously had old tweets of his dug up by, well, alt-right people, I suppose you could say. But honestly, considering how the left and the right weaponize social media, it really doesn't matter who dug them up. The bottom line is somebody wanted to get this guy fired for kicks and giggles or to prove a point, and they dug up old tweets from 10 years ago. Tweets that were homophobic and, in some cases, racist and sexist. I mean, granted, they were all supposed to be jokes, but they were pretty disgusting to read. And Disney reacted wildly and fired him. Now, that is a whole fiasco. That's for another video, and I have made videos about that. But look at the context of this. James Gunn got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which he's now going to be directing, of course, because Disney, realized their stupid mistake. And he was a free agent. And hey, people said, hey, you know what? Those tweets were 10 years ago. He's a different person now. He doesn't act like that anymore. And people were knocking on his doors to hand him projects. And who was the most vocal person who wanted him and ultimately got him? Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers hired him to write and direct Suicide Squad 2. And they knew about these tweets. Heck, it had been national news. They knew that the reason Gunn was a free agent was because Disney fired him over offensive tweets. And Warner Brothers said, hey, you know what? That was 10 years ago, and we're not necessarily a family-friendly company, so you can make all the edgy jokes you want. And they hired him for Suicide Squad 2. Now, here's the problem. I don't see a whole lot of difference between this situation and Hartley Sawyer. In both cases, offensive tweets were sent out. And in both cases, they were very close to a decade ago. So what is the difference between this guy's offensive tweets compared to this guy's offensive tweets? Some might say, well, he didn't say anything racist, talking about Gunn, of course. You know what? Maybe he didn't, but it certainly seemed like those tweets covered every offensive thing you could think of. And Warner Brothers was more than happy to work with him. But when this guy does it, well, they do not tolerate derogatory remarks that target any race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, or sexual orientation, because such remarks are anti-ethical to our values and policies. Except it was okay here, but it's not okay here. What was the difference, really? Was it because these tweets were 2 years newer? Like, okay, 10 years, that's far enough for it to be in the past, but 8 years, that's hitting too close to home. You probably didn't change that much in 8 years. Was it just the current climate? Like, hey, you know what? People are really into canceling people right now, so we got to do it now. You know what? I mean, I know they will never publicly say that because they might get sued if they admit something like that. But that's not a good reason. You need some consistency in this. So, again, I'm not defending this guy's tweets. I'm not defending what he did. I'm not even saying he shouldn't have been fired. Ultimately, that's their decision. And it seems weird to say this. For all the fuss I'm making, I don't care that much about whether or not actors can get work or not. It's just like, you know, they make way more money than I ever will. And most of them, even if they lose their career, they could probably retire somewhere. All I'm saying is, you know, this warranted a response. This didn't warrant a response. And this warranted welcoming the guy into your studio with open arms, despite the fact that you fired this guy for doing the exact same thing. Welcome to 2020, I suppose. So anyway, that's where we're going to leave it. Hopefully you will understand exactly where I'm coming from, and I would like to hear your thoughts on all of this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think this guy should have been fired? Do you think he should not have been fired? Personally, I'd like to know. I would very, very much like to know, so please do me a favor. Comment below. Hit 271 before your comment so that I know that you got to the end of the video and, you know, you actually saw the whole thing. And like, favorite, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.